Do we feel better or worse about losing to the Knicks now that the playoffs are rolling along without the Celtics? All that plus the Pacers, were they going to be a problem? OKC, are they unbeatable? It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT Karalis. Recap the madness every game, every practice. Prime time, dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and we've got you covered Monday through Friday. This podcast is free. It's available on every podcasting app. It's available on YouTube. You can watch it, comment there, and enjoy the show. However you want to do it, I do appreciate you becoming an everydayer. Join me every Monday through Friday if you're not subscribed. I do appreciate every one of you who has done that. Still rolling Monday through Friday throughout May, June, July as the offseason rolls along. And then still, when it stops rolling along August, September, it's 3 days a week. So plenty of podcasting ahead. Later on, this whole podcast is going to be about the Celtics perspective on the playoffs. Later on, we'll talk about what would have been a potential finals matchup. We'll look at the Eastern Conference Finals matchup. I want to start with the back at the Knicks series. I know last night on the Mailbag podcast, we got the question about can we go back to the Knicks series and kind of like button that up. So let's kind of move forward from that and look at how we feel. How do we feel having watched the first few games of this series? We're going to do that with our buddy Tom Westerholm. Tom, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Just enjoying a little bit of the downtime, watching NBA playoffs. And we're recording this as OKC and Minnesota are playing. So there's some going on right now, but it's different. It's different. You know, this is the earliest that the Celtics have been out in a long time. And it's different having to come up with podcast ideas in May that aren't okay. What adjustments do the Celtics have to make and all this stuff? And, you know, how do we feel about this series and pissing off other teams' fan bases? So,
I listen, I think there's a good chance that on this podcast, we will in some way piss off another team's fan base. Like,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, let's just start doing it right now.
Okay.
Because the Celtics lost to the New York Knicks.
They did.
And watching them, watching the Knicks, and now they I don't know. I guess I don't feel quite as bad watching Indiana blow a 20-point lead. I think my first reaction from watching Indy in New York, it's like each team has done what the Celtics did. Like the Knicks lost 2 games at home. Losing games at home, not like it happens, okay? It happens all the time. Giving up a 20-point lead. Pacers did it. It's not just the Celtics. And I know people listening will say, well, no, it should. I can understand it happening, but it's not supposed to happen to the Celtics, But I don't know, Tom. I feel like it's just not a Celtics thing, and the Celtics are just not immune to the. It might just be, and we were talking about before we started recording things that the old man yells at cloud things.
Yeah.
Is this just like this generation of NBA that for some reason they still have this mentality of 20-point lead, we're good. And they let go, and teams are consistently coming back. Doesn't matter who you are. No team is immune from giving up a 20-point lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest answer is 3-pointers, right? Like that obviously matters. But I also think that this, I don't know if it's like the generation thing. I think the biggest thing is just if you take a 20-point lead in the first half, you cannot. It's nothing. Just treat it like nothing because teams go on runs and like, especially the Knicks. Like, I think, look, I know he said we were going to make their fans mad, but I mean, I think if you're going to give the Knicks credit for, anything, right? It's like, look, they are pretty resilient. Like they do bounce back. They do keep coming at you, and like, I mean, I think one of the things that I watching the game last night, Siakam hit a couple of shots. Halliburton hit, I think, a three. And as like the Knicks were trying to come back, and all three of those shots, I saw those shots go in, and I was like, "Well, there it is. That's a shot that the Celtics didn't make.
Yeah,
That's it right there. That's the game. Like Pacers are going to win now." And then they didn't. So I mean, credit to the Knicks, right? Like they, again, it wasn't just historic. I mean, it was in a lot of ways. It was the Celtics being historically cold and just underperforming to a level that they had not under their expected field percentage, to a degree that they had not performed it all season, right? That's like the big part of it. But it wasn't just that, right? The Knicks can kind of complete these comebacks, and they did, yesterday. And I think, like it, yeah, I think the big thing is that in the first half, any 20-point lead is just like, it's nice. It's good to have. You'd rather be up by 20 than down by 20, but it is not safe. And I think one thing that does need to be kind of acknowledged is, I think a lot of times we get this like, oh, they blew a 20-point lead. Okay, but was that lead in the first half? I think the Celtics blew 20-point leads. I think the Pacers just had a 20-point lead at one point in the second quarter, and that's a different thing, because in the end, those leads are just, in the first half, they don't mean much.
That's true. That's true. And it's kind of funny because it goes back to the prior game where they were up. It was game 2 that they were up by 1 million, right? They were up by like 30, and I'm sitting there like, no, I'm you know what? I was actually thinking of Minnesota. My bad.
Okay.
I was watching the Minnesota game, and they were up by 30, and I tweeted out like at one point, OKC made a little bit of a run. Minnesota went up in they called a timeout, and they answered. Anthony Edwards hits a 3 to put them back up by 30. And it's like 30-point lead, cut down to like 20 something, got back up to 30. Doesn't seem like much, but I'm sitting there like, oh my God, that was a huge bucket. Like I tweeted out that if there's ever a clutch bucket to put your team up 30, Anthony Edwards just hit it, because these big leads come at a point where, okay, the other team has momentum. You have an entire half, in that series, you had an entire half to, okay, look, you went up by 30 at halftime. That means the other team is, if one team does it by halftime, the other team is fully capable of doing it in a half themselves. And you have to hit those big shots somewhere along the way to kind of keep that lead before it gets down to like 11, 10, 9. Like if you can hit those big shots early and answer these runs, then you're great. And like the Celtics last year answered in that way a lot. This year they did not. And I think if there's anything that brought them kind of back to the pack this year, was their inability to hold on to the big leads again.
I can't remember if it was Brad or Joe. I think it was Brad who said that, like, it's really important that you not let that, like, if you can make a 10-0 run act like a 10-4 run, or like even like a 12-4 run, like if you can just kind of mitigate those big runs a little bit, that's so important, because teams are gonna go on runs, right? And like, I think that's where it's like, that one, the one where OG Anunoby in the Celtics Knicks series, where OG Anunoby hit 2 threes, and all of a sudden it went from 20 to 14 in like 2 possessions, 2 quick possessions. Like he just hit, and it was like, ooh, that mattered. You know what I mean? And like the end of the half, last night with the Pacers and the Knicks, and like the Knicks, it goes from like 20 to 13, like bang, bang, like just quick. Like, that matters. Like it matters. 1, how quick it happens, and 2, that there's no response to it, right? That it wasn't like OG hit 2 threes, but there was a 2 from the Celtics sandwiched in between there, and all of us, and it's like a 15-point game instead of, or it's a 16-point game instead of a 14-point game, like that. Those little things they don't seem that significant, but man, they just are, especially in the playoffs. Like that they just start to snowball.
It's that starting and ending quarters that Joe talked about
He's
forever.
so right about that one.
He is
a banger. That's a
absolutely
Joe
right,
banger.
man. It really is.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until Joe came along that we really focused on it the way we've been. And he is so right. Because, like you said, Anunoby hits a couple of threes. All of a sudden, it's a 20-point lead goes down to 14.
A very manageable 14.
It's quick. And you're right. Like that was a great point. Like, it's no answer. It's boom, boom, quick buckets, break, go into the locker room, feeling great about yourself. The Celtics go in going, oh, God, okay, let's, and then you come out and boom, boom, quick buckets, and it's now a 12-0 run, 14-2 run, like that. All of a sudden, now you're fighting. Now it's a fight.
Yeah,
you're done. For now, it's a fight, and that the momentum. Like, I'm not a big believer in momentum from game to game, but in a game, that momentum is just, it's so hard to fight, because when the other team has it going like that, man, it just makes everything so crisp. Everybody feels good about what they're doing. They go back and they play this great defense. They're energized. And you're kind of like, okay, we're trying to do. You're kind of like in shock, right? You get punched in the nose and like your eyes start to water, like that kind of like feeling of, okay, what do we do? And the one criticism, you know what? I'll save the one criticism I have of the Celtics.
I want to make a point about momentum after the break too, but yeah.
Okay. The criticism I have of the Celtics, that I thought they were past it. That's next. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. Wayfair is a great place to get the spruce up. Maybe the weather's warming up and you want to decorate your outside. You want to get a little bit of a refresh for your outdoor space. Whether you have a big backyard or a small balcony, Wayfair has everything you need to make it feel like you. I am going through a little bit of a spruce up myself. We're going to put a deck out back. That's going to hopefully happen by the end of the summer. And that means Wayfair is going to have a delivery at my house with some new stuff to put outside to decorate that outdoor space. It's going to be great because it's going to be a comfortable place to sit. I know it's going to be a conversation starter when my friends come over and I get to be like, look, Wayfair, and I only paid this much for it. So whatever your style, it's there. Whatever your price range, it's there. You want a patio set, you want some string lights, the delivery is free, it's hassle-free. Even for the big stuff, when you're entertaining guests or just relaxing solo, you can shop Wayfair to help you unwind. Shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online this summer. Get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make sure you're making your second listen right now, heading up to the draft, the Locked On NBA Big Board. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, Tom. So the point I was making before was I thought that the Celtics were past the frantic part of responding to runs. I really felt like if I have one major criticism of this team from this year, it's and this goes back to December and January, and like that part where we kind of dismissed, like, it was okay. It's a little bit of boredom setting in. I don't think they ever developed the habit of the calmness, killer instinct. I don't want to say killer instinct, but like that, okay, you know what? It's okay. They hit a couple of shots. No problem. We're going to come down. We're just going to calmly execute what we execute. And instead, I think they got back to a little bit of the, all right. I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. And that's Jaylen and that's Jayson. Mostly. That I got it, I think when we're all talking about these guys are champs. They know how to win. That part is especially part of it.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Celtics got bounced in the second round to the Knicks because they didn't look like they knew how to win. And I hate to say that, but that is maybe it was Tatum's wrist. Maybe it was Jaylen's knee that played a role in that. But if that was the case, then everybody should have been like, hey, hey, Joe, my wrist, I'm not feeling very confident in my shot, or hey, Joe, my knee, I can't rise up in the mid range like I used to. Let's, we have to do something different. I just feel like again, watching these playoffs, watching the Pacers beat the Knicks, I'm like, man, they are playing with confidence. They're playing with speed and they're playing like themselves. And the Celtics did not play like that at any point when they were losing any of those leads.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, one of the point about momentum that I wanted to make plays right kind of into that too, where I think, like if you don't see momentum game to game, you do see patterns game to game that come back. You know what I mean? That and that's a little different. It's like it's the same. If you see a similar thing play out a second time, that isn't. It's not momentum. It's not just like a continuous rise, or a continuous fall, but it is like, I've seen this before. And that, I think that's what we saw. And that pattern just really reemerged from previous seasons that kind of, I kind of think of it in terms of like, if you've ever, gone through a stretch where it's like, like if you ever have had trouble like sticking to like a workout routine or something like that, right? Where it's like, you do it for like a couple of months cause you're really locked in. And then like falls off a little bit. And it's like, oh, I can get it back. And then you do for like a week or two, and it's like, life just starts to get in the way. You kind of lose it. And then all of a sudden a month goes by and it's like, dang, I haven't done that in a while. Yeah. Like, that really got away from me. And I feel like we see a little bit of that with the Celtics, right? We saw that last year where we saw that lock in, that just like, we know how to win and we're going to do it every night. I don't know. I don't think that the Celtics like forgot how to win. I think it's just, I think it, it's just hard. Like life gets in. I feel like this kind of just feel like life gets in the way sometimes. And then like when it does, that's when you revert back to those old patterns, right? It's like when it's just kind of, because it's easy to get back into those grooves in your brain, right? That you just kind of like follow along again. And like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it sucks, and it's like a I don't know, it's an unsatisfying way to explain things, but it kind of feels somewhat correct to me.
No, it does, and I remember Jaylen had said, I think he said a couple times, it's been a lot this season, a lot, like almost like there's a lot on my mind, a lot, and it's like. I wish we'd have like another exit interview or something where I could have, and I don't even know if I would have remembered, but the opportunity to ask him, hey, all of this stuff, you say a lot of stuff on your mind. What do you mean by that? What was on your mind? Like, what was so distracting? Was it the shoes? Was it like launching a shoe company?
Yeah.
Because it feels like that was part of it. And if that was part of it, then that's kind of like tough.
Not ideal. Yeah.
Not ideal, right? Like was launching the shoe company part of the stuff that was distracting to you? Because feels like why didn't you do that over the summer? Or like, why are you, putting that ahead of the basketball? And if, was it personal? Was it, always with his grandfather, was his grandfather in having any issues along the way? I know he was just at a pop-up event, but like, was there any health stuff? Was it, personal stuff? Like what was it that was a lot this season that made it different? Because it felt like maybe, and maybe the injury, maybe the knee, felt like maybe did something make it?
Maybe all of that, right? Like, I mean,
Maybe all of it.
yeah. Like, man, even with the shoot thing, it's like maybe he just underestimated how much would have to go into that, and like,
Maybe.
and that would that would be tough because it's like, oh man, like you probably should have known, but also at the same time, it's like, I don't know, you try something new and sometimes you just don't know how much
You don't realize how much it's going to take. Which would be like, tough, but it's
life gets in the way, like
exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. Like, I don't know, like Tatum was making progress, and then like that post All-Star break, he looked great, and we were talking about how he's manipulating everything so much better and everything, and that all kind of went away in the playoffs, and that physicality changes things.
Yeah,
And
that was
like,
weird. Yeah.
listen, the officiating, and again, this comes off like excuses, but
really, it's the ref's fault. Yeah, it
was completely
the official Locked On Celtics message here, I think.
That's right. That's exactly it. It was 100% the official's fault, but
Reddit was correct. Everybody on there.
I was right again. I was right. It was the refs who were wrong.
That's right.
Classic podcaster thing to do.
Yeah.
But the game changed. The game did change, and like that took away a lot of the stuff that the Celtics did well. I think it's like there is a fair like element, a percentage of the pie, right? Whether it's 5%, 50%, I don't think it was 50%. I think it's like 5-10% of the pie. That's like, and this goes back to why I was like, hey, why don't we play like this the whole time? If this is going to be how the playoffs are called, then call the regular season like this, because then we know what to expect. Then the Celtics know what to expect, and all of the things that have worked all season long would you have a better chance of that working because you know what to expect, and you don't. It's like you're a passing team, like in the NFL. You're a passing team, and pass, and then all of a sudden, the passing is kind of like almost legislated out, and everybody's gonna run. You're like, well, we're not a running team. We're more of a passing team. Like, I don't know. There's an element of that involved as well. But I think going back to what you said earlier, I think the Celtics went super cold. Just super cold.
Yeah.
And for a million different reasons, they went super cold again, like in 2023, they went super cold.
Yeah.
And they could never pull out of it. So let's continue on our playoffs track here.
Back to this stuff.
Okay, let's pretend the Celtics made it past. Let's say all this stuff happened. What do we see from the Pacers? What do we see from the Thunder? Were the Celtics just doomed anyway? We'll talk about that in just a second. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You want more in-depth coverage of the the Thunder Timberwolves game? Go to Locked On NBA Game Night. They've got that game covered from both sides. You got guys who are there. You got inside perspective. So go check out Locked On NBA Game Night and Locked On NBA for coverage of the playoffs, unlike anything else. So there's two roads we go here, because Tatum tore his Achilles in Game 4 in a loss. If the Celtics had won games 1 and 2 and things were different, there is a world where Tatum doesn't suffer this injury. Now, I don't know. Maybe he suffers it in a different way, and maybe there's just fatigue. And I don't think a healthy Achilles just snaps like that.
Yeah,
I'm
not a doctor. I don't know, but
I have no idea. But like, you don't just. I don't know. Maybe he just took a weird step, and it did. But regardless, I think there's a universe where we can say the Celtics win games 1 and 2, and Tatum's not in a position to take that particular step at that particular time in Game 4, and he is still healthy and they beat the Knicks and they move on. Or there's a universe where they still beat the Knicks, Tatum's hurt, and you move on. Either way, I don't know how you want to do it, but looking at the Pacers and the way they're playing, and again, I'm going to toot my own horn on this one and be like, I've been saying the Pacers are dangerous from the beginning. So I never wanted to face the Pacers, and they were on track to face the Pacers, and I was bemoaning the possibility of doing so.
Yeah.
How do you think a Celtics-Pacers series would have gone?
I mean, I posted this yesterday on Blue Sky. I feel like, I like the Pacers and Celtics fans have this very funny, very sort of like mutual respecty alliance right now, where it's just like, it's like, you know, Celtics fans are like, man, Pacers are awesome. I really like the Pacers, and Pacers fans are like, thank you. Yeah, you guys seem okay. Yeah, you guys like don't seem to mind you guys. Very funny to watch happen. But I do think, I don't know if that survives the Pacers sweeping the Celtics if Tatum is out and Jaylen's playing on one knee and like the whole thing. Like, I don't think that series goes well for the Celtics at all without Tatum. You know, I mean, like, you look at the Pacers and it's like, I think one of the things that the Celtics did last year that you know, you'd kind of hope like a healthy Celtics team would be able to do against them again would be like, take advantage of Halliburton as much as possible, right? Just like hunt him. That, honestly, when he went out last season, obviously the Pacers offense suffers, but like the Celtics lost the ability to do what they like to do best on offense, which is just, you know, killer whale, right? Like just go at him. Like that, I think that without Tatum and with, especially again with Jaylen on one knee, it was just not great. I also think, like, to your point earlier, the Celtics didn't look like themselves in that Magic series. They certainly didn't look like themselves in that Knicks series. Even if Tatum is healthy, I mean, the Pacers are really good, right? And like, again, we've both been saying it quite a lot. This is a very good team. And like, they're better this year than they were last year. Halliburton is better this year than he was last year. Nesmith is better. Like, these guys, this is I mean, Miles Turner looks like a monster. Like, they're really good. And like, I think the Pacers definitely could have beaten, I don't want to say healthy, because Tatum wasn't healthy before the injury and Jaylen certainly wasn't healthy, but like a relatively full strength Celtics team, I think, has a lot of trouble with the Pacers this season.
It's funny. I was watching and like Miles Turner's doing his stuff, and I was like, geez, the Celtics didn't have a center that did what he's doing. You know, like Horford doesn't have that level of energy. You know, he obviously,
he's got a lot of energy.
He does. And so
he tries to take Cat off the dribble sometimes, and it's like, hey, okay, all right, that was
So like, Horford does all that stuff, just does it at, you know, 80% of the speed
38
or whatever, which right. And this 39-year-old guy that, of course, Porzingis is supposed to be the guy who has that energy. And it just like, I just never going to shake the fact that Porzingis not being available the way we thought he was going to be available was a killer. And it was so weird. It's so weird. I still don't understand it. He doesn't understand it. The Celtics don't understand it. You know, post-viral syndrome, whatever the hell that is. Like, okay, fine, I guess. But like, again, going back to the injury from last year, he doesn't just hurt his ankle. He suffers one of the rarest injuries ever. He doesn't just get sick. He has a post-viral syndrome that comes back and gets him basically sick again in the playoffs. It was so, like, that was a killer. That was just a killer. We couldn't see the Porzingis that, you know, when you look at Miles Turner, you're like, okay, that's a guy who's disruptive for Indy. The speed at which Indy plays. This version of the Celtics, even if they got past New York, I thought I don't know if they beat the Pacers. And it's kind of funny you talk about that mutual respect and all of that stuff. It comes from the the very Doc Rivers, we still haven't lost a playoff game to you guys. The Celtics have this I know the Celtics fans are like, I know we swept you guys. You guys easily could have won any of those games. That could have gone 7. You could have beat us. Echoing Joe Mazzulla, you could have beat us. We did sweep you though, but you could have. There's it's very much a Homer Simpson when he's setting up the caution tape around Flanders. You thought your family was dead, but they're not though. But you thought they were, but they're not. It's very much like you thought you could beat us, but you didn't. But you could have, but you didn't. And now we look at it's like, oh man, the Celtics were so beat up. Yeah, man, you probably would have beat us, man. You probably could have, but you didn't. We screwed up. We didn't get to that point. Well, you could have, man. I was afraid of you guys, but you
we were banged up. Because we were banged up.
We were banged up.
Yep.
So,
but it goes deeper than that too, because the other thing that Celtics fans can say is no, the Pacers are super underrated. You said our path was easy. This Pacers team is not easy.
Oh, right.
We swept them, but they're really good, guys. You guys don't understand.
Right. So you kind of go back and relitigate last year's run.
Yeah.
If this Pacers team makes it to the finals, you say, look, man, look.
You
said it was easy. That wasn't easy. That wasn't easy at all.
Yeah.
That's I like that part. That part's fun. So
that said, I really like the Pacers, man.
I do like the Pacers.
I do like them.
And it is a different Halliburton this year than it was.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, healthy Celtics have healthy, even by last year's standards, have a lot more trouble with this year's Pacers team.
Yeah. Jaylen healthy, Jayson healthy, Porzingis normal. That Pacers team is a problem for Boston, no matter what. OKC, let's wrap this up with the OKC. They have looked beatable. And they're probably going to win.
Yeah,
probably. But man, OKC Pacers series would be kind of wild.
Fun. I mean, it's I do think it's very funny how there's the most of the plausible scenarios here are just nightmarish from a market perspective for the NBA.
Oh my God. The NBA's no. The two
they're going to start just hitting Pacers players with chairs to mix through. Because
you know what? I'll just throw this out there. You can't have that. The NBA cannot have that anymore. You absolutely cannot. No, screw them. Screw the NBA. If this mentality persists, I know we like to think that, and I'm probably yelling at a straw man here, but no, screw this, because you cannot put a CBA in place that tears teams apart. You cannot create a system designed to tear everybody apart and then be mad when OKC and Indiana are the two teams in the finals and be like, oh my God, we got two horrible and the ratings are terrible. This is what you asked for. Yep. You wanted stuff like this. You wanted the parity. And I hope they get OKC and Indy, and I hope the ratings absolutely blow, and I hope they understand.
I'm gonna watch all the games though. We are gonna be watching these games.
I'm gonna be watching the hell out of these games. Yep. I'm gonna watch those games. They're gonna be fun games.
Yeah. But which is that a win? Is that an NBA win? Because that is parity, right?
It's exactly what the NBA wants.
Yeah.
It's exactly what the NBA wants, and maybe it'll be great. And this is gonna be a big early test. This is going to be Adam Silver's going to be looking at those ratings and being like, okay, OKC, they've had all year. We've had all year long to get on the OKC bandwagon. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP. All three guys, him, Williams, Chet, they're doing that ad. We're all dressed in that stupid blue outfit. They're out there.
The dumb hat.
The stupid hat, that tie on the outside. You look silly. Okay, but whatever. They're in that hat. This very old man here. But that, everybody's had all year long to understand OKC is good. Mm-hmm. Be aware that OKC is good. They've been historically good. Them getting to the NBA Finals was always supposed to happen. So if they get there and everybody's like, huh, well, you look at this, then the NBA's got a real problem.
Yeah.
And the Pacers getting in, like, hey, not what anybody expected. Nobody expected this, if that's how it goes. Hell, nobody even expected the Knicks. But
Yeah, no.
if this is going to be an early kind of litmus test, this is what the NBA wants. You want finals like this. You want, Memphis and, Portland. You want these teams out of nowhere. You're trying to be the NFL. You're trying to shake this reliance on big markets. Admirable. Okay, I get it. I understand it. Is it going to happen? Are you going to be able to pull this off? Because we talk about that big fear of too small markets. I don't know, man. The NBA, like Adam Silver, so he's going to do his pre-finals press conference and say, this is exactly the type of thing that we want to happen. Yep. He's going to tout it.
I know we're running long. The only other thing that I think that stinks about this, right, is not, I'm all for the small markets, all for all that stuff. I do think that like it's gonna be hard in this environment to build up the prestige of like that, like 2016 Steph, LeBron. These guys have battled a bunch of times, and like to get that right. Storyline is probably gone, and that sucks. I loved that.
Yeah.
Just like, and then that it didn't matter. Cleveland small market doesn't matter. It just what mattered was that prestige, like these two guys, these two all-timers going at each other's necks. I mean, and like, hey, maybe, I don't know, maybe Shea, Tyrese Halliburton is that. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe.
But like, I don't know. That's the thing that I think that's the thing that I feel like I'm going to miss a little bit.
This is such an overhaul. We're getting into a much better podcast than what we originally were doing. But this is the NBA built its comeback. Like it built this on individuals, right? Mm-hmm. The David Stern's biggest thing was Larry Bird and the Celtics, Magic Johnson and the Lakers, individual stars. The NBA has this unique, we all know what these stars look like. It's very different, even than like definitely different than the NFL. Yeah, because everybody's got helmets on. You don't know what guys look like. Like, honestly, I'm not a biggest NFL fan anymore. Like, I know who Saquon Barkley is.
Sure.
And but he was on TV and I didn't know it was Saquon Barkley until they put his name. That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
Legit. Like total.
I can spell his name, but I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup. Yeah.
I can talk about, right. I had no idea. Right. And that I'm a total casual when it comes to the NFL, admittedly. Like, I don't do an NFL podcast. I'm a casual when it comes to the NFL. And I saw Saquon Barkley on TV and I was like, oh, I would have thought he looked different. But Anthony Edwards, Anthony Edwards, right? Shai Gilgeous, all of these guys. They're out here in basically their underwear. They're just tank tops.
Donovan Mitchell was literally in his underwear.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, this is like, not only do you know these guys, their tattoos, everything, man. So, like, the whole thing was built on individuals. And now here comes Adam Silver, and he's kind of taking that away. He wants the individuals to be everywhere. And maybe you stop being fans of teams, and it's, let's just use Jaylen Brown. Let's wrap it up with Jaylen Brown. You're a big Jaylen Brown, lots of big Jaylen Brown fans listening.
Yeah.
Jaylen goes to, the Celtics decide they're going to blow it up. He goes to Houston. Mm-hmm. How many people say, you know what? I'm not a Celtics fan anymore. I'm a Houston fan. And then he goes into free agency and he goes to Atlanta. He goes home. Oh, now I'm an Atlanta fan, right? I love Jaylen Brown. I'm following him around. Is that good or bad for the league? I don't know. I don't know what that is for the league. So it's kind of wild.
Like the Celtics offseason. It's gonna get weird. This is gonna be weird. It's just gonna be so weird.
It is gonna be weird. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good place to wrap up. OKC is beatable, but I don't know. Maybe not. Minnesota. Well, as I wrap this up, they're only down 4. They're only down 4. This I never thought, like, when I was on Locked On NBA last week and they lost those 2 games at home. I'm like, man, there's just a few little bounces here and there in OKC. Like, I know OKC ran away with it, but I was like, I think they're okay. They got to figure out a way to win in OKC, but
Yeah.
I feel like there are a few home bounces away from evening this series, and they might still be. But anyway, Tom, appreciate you hopping on.
Appreciate you, man.
As always, my friend, and I do appreciate everybody listening as we navigate this off season. It's a crazy off season. So thank you for listening. Thank you if you're still here. All 5 of you, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here for us. All of you are going to be everydayers. I know you are. If you haven't subscribed, though, yet, if you're here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Watch the show on YouTube, get into the comments section. And then once you're in there, share your thoughts and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.